Hello, calling you from hell, where it's slightly more pleasant weather than the crazy rainstorms outside of Boston. Welcome to Stone Soup Poetry for another all open mic. Thanks to everyone who came, and thanks to anyone who's going to be coming or is fighting your way to come in here. And thanks to those who are watching on Facebook. Follow our Facebook group and consider being a part of us. Consider writing and submitting to Oddball Magazine. The Christmas Wars is going to be taking place the last week of Christmas. For Christmas Wars, for pieces taking on the idea of what war on Christmas means to you. So it's going to be. It's already an interesting assortment of pieces. Some prominent voices and some newcomers are have already contributed. Don't know what else to say. Next Friday, I'll be reading online for Tom Daly's Friends of Poetry feature. If you guys are interested in that, please let me know. I know a couple of you are already, but let me know, email me or text me, and I'll start creating a list because they only give the list out to a select people, and he's only given me the list out, or not the list, but the actual link to the Zoom call. I think the day before. It's a kind of exclusive group, and they're very cautious about Zoom bombing. So let me know if you're interested. I wouldn't mind if more than a few of you come because it's going to be, I think it's going to be a light week because everyone's going to be preparing for the holidays. I knew it, but I want to let people know about my book. More than that, I want them to buy it. Consider the links on my website and elsewhere. But we will, but we will. I'll make do. And good Lord, I'm about to fall asleep. So let's go on with the open mic. Let's get it loud. Let's get it loud, or at least semi-boisterous. Welcome more links. Thank you, Richard Spizak. Let's bring up Richard Spizak. And as we look forward to seeing what his next piece will be for Oddball Magazine, he's been a contributing. He's been one hell of a contributor over the last couple of weeks, and we've needed him. So, Richard, the mic is yours.
Thank you, brother. You're very kind, very generous. And in that same spirit, I'm going to remind you that pretty soon we'll be hearing this story a lot on the news. It's called Turning In Your Neighbors. Harsh enough? Starch the cuffs. I sort of like their sofa. I like their cars and stuff. Turn them in by lunchtime, grab their favorite chair. They'll be cleaned out by 11, but then they'll be just cluttering up the jail. Repudiating humanism, it's a mechanistic age, with compulsory church attendance, public prayers now all the rage. Everyone wears their AI watchers, don't leave home without it, Nacho. Even at bedtime, be no more a whisper. You better shout about it. Keep your battery all charged up. Yeah, it's only a misdemeanor, but don't doubt it. But if you're caught without it, oh my dear, you'll learn what it's like when your ears and fingertips will surely fail to burn. And when your street block captain checks your record out online, if your watch refused to shine, you'll be emailed one big old hefty fine. No more lawn boys at the neighbors. Gardening done for white folks by prison labor. All those teachers and professors, no more highfalutin men of letters. No more colleges or university. No more thinking there are betters. We emptied them all. We ain't got no need. Doctors all work for insurance. So if you're poor, you'll need endurance. Whole thing's now run on greed. I turned in all my neighbors. They were a suspicious lot. And when they left, we rounded up all the things they bought. We got great employment surges, has selected now in a few personal churches. You must sign up for compulsory attendance. No more private morality. You'll never more be friendless. And when the churchy state rightward lurches, you'll see attendance kept at churches. And when the church enforces at the door hands out the new commandments, you better hope he still signs your churchy list attendance. So many hours of prayer each day, you better get your card stamped by the neighbor anyway. You'll have to buy the leader's picture. It's mandatory now, or else you'll get a lecture. They'll be downloading your prayer history. How fervent are your studies of the latest revision of the sacred temptatious mysteries? After they've rounded up the brown ones, the political media clown ones, the Dems were next and the rhinos were hex into the gulags, the proud, profound ones, they'll get their collars stretched. Those college professors were gathered to stand before the state confessors. Each classroom has its Bible belt, and should you, without your homework, be caught, if only you've got a hefty bribe, you'll go back safely to your tribe. Schools now renounce formal learning. Didn't you smell those books all burning? Not much left for the discerning student because carrying books for study just isn't prudent. Best to be an athlete now. Them art and music classes are long lost over, boy, and how. Idiocracy is the new ideal. No more transgender surgery. That was never real. No more punishment for perjury. No more stool pigeons with a big reveal. All those January 6th prisoners have been knighted, and all those choral horror hoodlums are delighted. Once a year, they climb the dome to remind us all that Donnie's home. And if there's time for one more, this
Okay.
is uh, this is called Poetic Virtue. It is with enthusiasm and hope that I send this little missive, so that in the purplest pleasure you'll find this kissive. I endeavor to engage with spirit and humor. Should you ever hear otherwise, that's a vicious rumor. I look to poetic virtue to make my fortune, yet all it's granted me is a jester's costume. My fame and wallet remain quite thin. I only hope, nevertheless, you'll let me in. Cash, coin, and Dallas are a piss poor measure. Perhaps, if nothing else, you'll find me clever. Thank you, my friends. An honor to be with you.
Thank you, Richard. And the Ramnator has selected next Nike Truth. If you're ready. Awesome.
Greetings. This is a short story that I submitted to Alien Buddha Press, their horror showdown number 7. It is a short story called Let the Dead Sleep. Astera closed the lid on another box with a heavy sigh. This was the 3rd box she packed for the day, and there were still many to go. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor of his room, completely bare aside from the carpet and all the other boxes pushed against the wall. Her face slightly crumpled at the thought that there was no one to occupy this room anymore. His room. She lost control of the emotions churning inside her and couldn't stop the quick inhale of breath. Before she realized what she'd done to herself, it was already too late to stop. She cursed, taking her bottom lip in her teeth, rocking back and forth into the tremble that racked her body. As tears rolled down her cheeks, she buried her face in her hands, whimpering his name. In the same moment, her cell phone began to ring, the ringtone so loud she practically levitated off the floor. Her phone was on the corner of the desk, 5 feet away from her. With teary eyes, she let it ring 3 more times before ignoring it. No one called her these days except her mom, and she only said the same things. Stop moping, get back out there and date, eat an actual meal. All the things she didn't want to hear. As the phone continued to ring, she thought she wasn't completely wrong. She wasn't ready to date, but she couldn't remember the last time she was out for more than 10 minutes, when she wasn't walking to her car to go to work. At the last couple rings of her phone, she made a mental note of what to do tomorrow. Finally pack all these boxes so she can restore her sanity and go grocery shopping. When she woke up the next day, she didn't waste time and got to packing. 2 breakdowns and 10 boxes later, it was finally finished. After dressing in comfortable clothes, she got in the car and purposely drove past the rundown grocery store before going to Midtown. During shopping, she unconsciously picked up all the foods he liked and had to put them back. After putting back half of the food she wouldn't bother eating on her own, she had a pathetic cart full of frozen dinners and some canned pears. Astera was putting her groceries away when she happened to catch a glance at a storefront across the street. It had dark glass, but the pair of eyes drawn with white, delicate lines mesmerized her. Before she could stop herself, she was already skipping across the street, appeasingly waving at the car she jumped in front of. Opening the door, a bell chimed her arrival. There were display boxes and shelves full of things carved out of marble and wood, and trinkets that only witches in movies possessed. When she walked deeper inside, she noticed people looking around, guffawing at these items, while an old woman watched with a pleased expression. She was seated behind a long glass counter, her skinny arms supporting her endowed chest. She looked at Austera with a pondering look when she approached the counter. When the younger woman stood before her, she said in a thick accent, "Girl, you look heartbroken." "Excuse me?" Austera asked, wrinkling her nose at the assumption. "I can tell," she said, pointing at her eye. "You have lost someone." She stood there for a moment with her mouth open. It felt like someone put a nail in her head. Casting her eyes down, she replied, "Yes, I have." "What was his name, girl? How did you lose him?" "His name was Theodore," she said quietly. "He died in a car accident last October." "And you carry many regrets in your heart about this?" Although she inflected as a question, her words were a statement. "Yes," she breathed. "Tell me, what would you do to see him again?" "Anything." Her voice deep as emotion choked her words. "I would rather go blind than to see him leave me again." Burying her face in her hands, Astera muffled her sobs. The woman stared at her but didn't say anything else. When she finally got herself together, she realized that everyone had left, and the woman was crushing something with a pestle in a small marble bowl. With a wink, she said, "Don't worry. You came to me for a reason. I will take care of you." She offered Austera a white handkerchief and she hesitantly took it. She wiped her face and nose and was folding the fabric to the drier side when something pricked her finger. She hissed when she saw blood stain the fabric. The older woman held her hand out, looking from the hanky to her. The woman was confused but complied, awkwardly returning the bloodied napkin. She laid it out on the countertop and poured what looked like twigs and dirt onto the fabric. Her hand disappeared under the counter, and she pulled back a gold band ring and dropped it in the middle of the pile. Taking the corners of the fabric, she brought them together and tied a cold string around it. Securing it with a bow, she gave it to Austera. "I only gave you the tools, girl," she said. "How you use them is up to you." Austera didn't say anything else. She gave the woman one last look before leaving. And that's all. Thank you.
Check out Alien Buddha Press. I'm probably going to post another one of their calls for submissions. They're already taking submissions for any Valentine's Day theme work for, I think the deadline is December 23rd. Thank you, Nike. And up next, I'd like to welcome, in no particular order of rank, let's bring up the Generalissimo himself, Brian Franco.
Gracias. Thank you, Chad. And I really like that Nike. Is it Nike or Nike? I don't know how to pronounce your first name.
Nike, just do it.
Okay.
There we go.
The winged victory of Samothrace. Did you know that?
I
That's
did not.
yeah. I had a pair. Someone gave me a pair of cufflinks for my graduation from the Metropolitan Museum of Art that said Nike, the winged victory of Samothrace. It wasn't the swoosh. It was like a sculpture or something from Greek mythology. So it's kind of a really cool thing, but I don't have them anymore.
Interesting nonetheless.
Oh, Brian, are you all set? Oh, did he drop?
Did I mute myself? I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
muted
you did
myself. I'm sorry
actually. I
about
don't
that.
know how that happened.
No, I did that to myself. I sometimes accidentally do that. Okay. So I recently received an anthology in the mail from that I take a workshop called Selena Scribe. There was this one. It's with the Inlandia Institute out of Riverside, California, and there was this woman who taught several workshops for them named Selena Diana Bumpus, who also went by Selena Ocean Moon Spirit, and she was a very well regarded award-winning poet, and she was an amazing human being.
I'm
Very
sorry, I didn't know. Let's see.
she passed away in 2021 from COVID. And so there's a man from one of her workshops who continues doing workshops with people who are just in her workshops. And so they also do a workshop anthology for all their workshops called Writing from Inlandia. And so I have 4 poems in it this year. You can stop me when you think I've gone too long. So the first is a haiku. It's called Hiroshimaku. She gripped her basket whilst foraging for mushrooms, then the plane flew by. The next is called Incarnations of Beaches. When I walk the beach, apparitions of my former self often walk with me. 5-year-old me fills his hands with sandy mud and lets it escape through his fingers. 7-year-old me draws a crooked line through wet sand with his big toe. He walks at tide's edge. Warm Gulf of Mexico water rushes over his feet. 8-year-old me writes his name in the same sand with the same big toe. 10-year-old me plays frisbee with his brothers who catch it every time. He doesn't stop smiling despite that he rarely catches the frisbee himself. 21-year-old me who bikes 20 miles 4 days a week refuses to remove his trunks at a California nude beach. 25-year-old me walks alone on a winter day and marvels at stark gray winter sky against white sand and turquoise water. He laughs at a joke his father once told him he can't stop laughing because no one could tell a joke like Dad. 1 month prior, he had recited Kaddish as he tossed fresh dirt atop a wooden casket with shiny brass rails. And another year, he will place a rock upon his father's gravestone. A 44-year-old me draws a long straight line through wet sand with his big toe. He walks at tide's edge. Cold Atlantic water rushes over his feet. He wonders why he hasn't been to a beach in 5 years. Why we don't irrigate mango trees with salt water. A tale of practiced depression. Tears don't happen as easily these days. I am not swallowing them. I don't necessarily feel their presence in my thoughts, yet I know they exist in my feelings, but sometimes my coping skills serve their purposes too well when a torrent is warranted. A good cry can be like running a 5K, after which I can feel both exhausted and exhilarated. Endorphins happen when tears exit my soul with saline that feels as if they should scald me. Instead, they open my airways, allowing me to breathe as if I exist in a meadow of mountain mint. Tears exit my eyes wet and find their way to dry, leaving salty residue upon my cheeks and the edges of my lips. While I am not partial to salty food, I sometimes crave the taste of tears as if they are made of mango juice. I have never lifted a goblet of water to my lips expecting wine, and tears will never taste of anything other than salt, but allowing their existence allows for a future with a potential for sweets. And this is called the final renunciation of a citizenship. She stared at the home she was raised in, a home her father carved from swampy woodland, a place that should not feel foreign to her but did. Her mother had passed 3 years prior from emphysema, diagnosed over 30 years after quitting smoking. Her father remained there. She asked him to move in with her and the kids. He declined. He needed the familiarity of the structure, much of which came from trees on the land. The wide plank pecan wood floors were a slight pinkish color that qualified as muted rust. The rough-hewn ponderosa pine walls felt and looked like cedar, but smelled sweeter. The porch railing, which was originally metal, was replaced with crepe myrtle branches harvested from trees her mom asked her dad to plant that he crepe murdered 4 years later. He committed crepe murder every other year since and fashioned branches into canes he gave as gifts to elderly friends and relatives or sold at the church holiday bazaar. This now empty home was a rebirth of things taken from the land. Now empty of both her parents' furniture and bric-a-brac, she relinquished its future to a real estate agent. She walked across the floors. She ran her fingers along the walls. The stairs still had a telltale squeak on the fourth to last step. After she realized the hand-scrolled molding in her childhood bedroom was a love letter from father to daughter, its memory sweetened her sleeping dreams for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Let's bring us up over to Jan Rowe now.
There you go.
This is called Let It Go. I decided today I'll be letting some activities go during this busy, almost frenzied Christmas season and do more of what I enjoy, writing, even forming the letters, writing letters to my friends and family. People who work with those who are dying say a common regret the dying say is not keeping in touch with family and friends. So, writing, even that physical aspect, I had to perfect that on the old-fashioned chalkboards in my dozen years at Laurel High School so the students could read it. I've noticed other activities infringe on the simple note and letter writing. Those activities I'm dropping, the infringers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. What do we have next after Jan Rowe? Let's welcome up next Bill Lewis. Who's muted?
I was
Oh, there you
writing a love note to Jan. I mean, that was so sweet, Jan. I just felt all the way. God. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Jan. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, it's chilly here. We went up, we picked up all sorts of pine and fir branches. We're going to turn into more wreaths and be happy. And the house smells of pine. And I love that smell with just that, just from having crushed up pine branches in the house. It makes me happy. It's still too cold. The dawn beckons. Even now we see the signs of the rebirth. The return to sanity, understanding that we missed so long. Hezbollah hesitates. Assad abandons. Putin poops in pants. Iran ran. Hamas hemorrhages. And cartels quake. The great orange monster awakes. He stretches his arms and yawns, and the whole world snaps to attention. Not even in office. The world feels safer. World War III is not coming. Israel and Palestine are fighting their final war. The streets of America. There will be a time soon when Safeway will be safe again. Crazy men with felonies no longer rule the subways. The people have said enough, enough, and they are fighting back. Tren de Aragua can damn well go to their trending back home. And the people who are fine, bizarre, brought into the country with big promises and then abandoned, she has 40 days and 40 nights, and she will do nothing and let them go back home. She could have ended homelessness, but she wanted 10 million migrants. She could have wiped out poverty, but she wanted 10 million low-wage workers. She could have made America great, but she wanted 10 million semi-legal, semi-slave Democratic voters. America won't do these jobs. Not for $7.25 an hour, they won't. And now we look for change. The clouds are lifting, a bright orange sun rises in the east, hearkening to better times for all Americans. This is the time to rejoice and the time to take responsibility. Remember those crazy people on the streets that you didn't take responsibility for? The addicted neighbors? Your children's friends living in tents? Arise, America, and be great.
Thank you, Bill. Coming up next, let's bring up Mr. Robert Fleming. Oh, and let's get the permissions going. There you go.
Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a visual poet from Lewis, Delaware. And tonight I'm offering for the Stone Soup players another opportunity to do a reading of a scene from A Christmas Carol. So I will remind us of what A Christmas Carol is about. It's a novel by Charles Dickens where the protagonist Ebenezer Scrooge, a wealthy, miserly old man, learns the true meaning of Christmas. And Scrooge's transformation on Christmas Eve, Scrooge is visited by the ghosts of his former business partner, Jacob Marley, and the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. The ghosts show Scrooge how his meanness has affected those around him, and he realizes he must change his ways. Tonight, we will read the scene with Scrooge and with the ghost of Christmas past. Last week, we had two readers who were men. I want to offer the readings to women tonight. This is the cover of his novel, which has become a play. This is a representation of Scrooge, and this is one of the ghost of Christmas past. So I'm going to share the script. Here it is. So could I have two volunteers for the reading? We have two women in the open mic tonight. We have Jan and we have Nike. Would either of you like to read one of the roles, either Scrooge or the Spirit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which one would you like to read, Scrooge or the Ghost of Christmas Past?
It doesn't matter to me.
I will take the first Spirit.
Okay, so Jan, will you be Scrooge?
I'll be Scrooge.
Wonderful. So I will read the stage directions. Scene 3, The Spirit of Christmas Past. The hour is struck again by a large street clock, and the first spirit appears. It is a figure dressed to look like a little girl's doll.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
Your past.
Why are you here?
Your welfare. Rise, walk with me.
I am mortal still. I can't pass through air.
My hand.
Scrooge grasps the spirit's hand tightly, and the doll bell rings softly. Scrooge remembers a scene from his past in which two boys greet each other in the street. So I will read the other characters. Hello, Jack. Ben, Merry Christmas, Ben. So it
Jack
is
Walton? Young Jack Walton? Spirit?
have a good holiday, Jack.
Yes, I remember him, both of them. Little Ben Benjamin, he used to.
See you next term, Jack. Next term.
They're off for the holidays and going home from school. It's Christmas time. All the children off home now. No, not at all. There was one.
The spirits motion for Scrooge to turn. He sees a young boy playing with a teddy bear and taking to it.
Yes, reading. Poor boy.
What, I wonder?
Reading, oh, it was nothing. Fancy, all fancy and make believe and take me away. All of it, yes, nonsense. Alibaba. Yes, that was it. Genie, take me to the gate of Damascus. Yes, O master, and jewels I shall bring you, and gold and myrrh and frankincense. And they put him down. Do you remember that silly one at the gate of Damascus in his underdrawers, asleep? Yes, yes, the genie turned the Sultan's groom upside down and stood him on his head. Served him right, I say. And all the thieves and jars of oil.
Scrooge pretends to stab the jars of oil with his scimitar.
Yes, yes, and running them through this and this and this for each of you. Yes, and remember Robinson Crusoe and the parrot. Yes, the parrot. I love him best.
Imitating the parrot.
With his stripy green body and yellow tail drooping along and couldn't sing, but could talk, and a thing like lettuce growing off the top of its head, and he used to sit on the very top of the tree up there. And Robinson Crusoe sailed around the world, and he thought the parrot said, Robinson Crusoe, where have you been? Robinson Crusoe, where have you been? And Robinson Crusoe looked up in the tree and saw the parrot and knew he hadn't escaped, and he was still there, still all alone there. Poor Robinson Crusoe. Poor Robinson Crusoe. Poor child, poor child.
Why poor?
Fancy, fancy.
He tries to mask his feelings by being impolite.
It's his way, a child's way, to lose being alone in dreams. Never matter if they're all nonsense. Yes, nonsense. But he'll be all right. Grow out of it. Yes, yes, he did outgrow it. The nonsense became a man and left there, and he became a man, and yes, successful, rich.
The sadness returns.
Never matter, never matter.
Then Scrooge's sister runs in and goes to child Scrooge.
Fan!
Brother, dear brother.
Dear, dear Fan.
I've come to bring you home, home for good and ever. Come with me, come now. She takes his hand and they start to run off, but the spirit stops them and signals for the light of them to fade. They look at the spirit, aware of their role in the spirit's education of Scrooge.
Let me watch them go. Let them be happy for a moment.
Spirit says nothing. Scrooge turns away from them and the light goes out.
A delicate, delicate child. A breath might have withered her.
She dies a woman in hand, as I remember, children.
One child.
Your nephew.
Yes, yes, Fred, my nephew.
Scrooge pauses and tries to bluster through.
Well, all of us have that, haven't we? Childhood sadness, but we grow and we become men, masters of ourselves. I've no time for it, spirit, music, and all your Christmas nonsense. Yes, yes, I've learned what you've had to show me.
Thank you. Let's end it here.
Okay.
That was the beginning of the scene between Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Past. It is a play that was converted by Charles Dickinson's novel, A Christmas Carol. Thank you for Jan and Nikki for reading.
And now will bring us to Mr. Edward S. Galt.
Thank you very much. Tonight, I think I'd like to pay a tribute to Mike Amato, whose book, Rebuilding the Pyramids, I just found in my own collection not far back. Shows what happens when you decide to clean up your room once in a while. You find things. My own little archaeological dig there. So I found Mike Amato's book, Rebuilding the Pyramids, in my collection. I posted a picture of it in the chat. It is still available on Amazon, by the way. You can still get this. Now, Mike Amato died of kidney disease some time ago, I think in 2009 or so. He died very young. And he wrote a good deal of his poetry around his journey through the experience. And I'd just like to read a couple of his poems, Tales from the Chair 1 and Tales from the Chair 2. Here's the first one, Tales from the Chair 1. Many times I'd rise from the chair to have my sight swallowed by haze. Many smiles and scrubs would say, you look as good as self-esteem drains. 3 times a week. Catheters draw Chi from body tissues. Technicians say we're removing excess fluid. It can kill you. Rapidly, my will to live vacuumed away my skin in a wraith of dust. I stare down, ghost in the face of the clock. My thin bones walk, and in their vigil, where lie dialysis into the ground. The worst is burned fields. Heavens evaporate. Angels hit with layoffs leap from the skyscrapers, their bodies never found. This is Tales from the Chair 2. In parentheses has the virus and the disease. Okay, I jerk from the chair after treatment, then pass out, come to gasping. I'm late for the bus. 5 minutes walk to the stop. The bone can melt. My space is cold new wax. High school tourists with chaperones scuff by like toddlers on harnesses. The gaze of one spears me. Eyebrows lower, grins, forms. Then he snickers. He's seeing the sights. Death is not on their itinerary. Pale skin anxiously hanging in drops as my slow breath caresses my waning frame, my waning flame. My hand takes his. Beware, my friend, as you pass by. In my thick of dying, you'll fight to live as least something's happening. How about you? His grip went loose. The skin of his hand was like a ripe peach. I recall that resistant texture. If he can, if he had seen the day I had, the hard air opened before me, a bleak whirling hollow nailed me to the floor. They said I only fainted. Gave me a cup of water. How are you doing? I heard the nurse's woolly shout. I thought I saw a warrior brave. He had on mourning paint, moving slow with a horse that he had a gouged flank. They ghosted into the dark. And that was from Mike Amato's book, Rebuilding the Pyramids. And I have it, or you can see it very well here, but I have it in the comment section. Nice photograph of the cover. You can still get it from Amazon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's been 15 years since he passed. Actually, oh God, almost, yeah, about 15 years. Since over 15 years since he passed away. Thank you so much, sir. And then we're going to go to, I guess we lost Ethan, and unfortunately we lost Jillian, who I was going to call next. But Let's go now to Mr. James Van Loy.
Hello. So I have a poem here from 2017, January 2017. What I did during the Women's March. The taunting pink pussycats were everywhere. Even before I went in the station to get on the train, and once I got on, there was a baby in a backpack jacket, infant jowled cheeks, pink in the navy blue garment, little baby head looking around wide-eyed, so I started to croon. Way down in my solar plexus, overtones like elephant rumblings or silverback gorilla alpha male humming. The whole group so calm, so secure. I was able to go out in the midst, massive crowd, trampling ever onwards, ever outward, ever inward. I drew this huge labyrinth amidst all those feet and ankles and legs, line by line, with little kids coming up to run the lines, even before they were done, begging for pieces of chalk to draw at the edges of what I'd done, the biggest labyrinth I'd ever made, flowing out from petals, blossoming from its germ center, where I actually can see Notre Dame, Our Lady, growing outward like Gothic cathedral towering upward with the dark ages hovering as backdrop just behind, and Black Death, Inquisition, and Crusades, four horsemen battalions parading all about as I stooped down in my labyrinth redoubt, a rainbow of chalk, where children curved by the lines that make an all one thing world of this transcendent arc beneath bending sky, ever rippling pavement between green grass, all these people brought together in love, reacting to hate. And I got a song here. Because we are one family, wherever we may be, one union shall unite us forever proud and free. No tyrant shall defeat us, no nation strike us down. All men who toil shall greet us, the whole wide world around. My brothers are all others, forever hand in hand, where chimes the bell of freedom. There is my native land. My brother's fears are my fears, yellow, white, and brown. My brother's tears are my tears, the whole wide world around. Let every voice be thunder, let every heart beat strong, until all tyrants perish. Our work shall not be done. Let not our memories fail us. The lost years shall be found. Let slavery's chains be broken. The whole wide world around. Thank you.
Thank you, James. let's circle back to the beginning, and we will once again have Richard Spizak on. Oh, did I do the whole segue with without mute? I meant to say thank you, James. And let's have Richard Spizak back on to circle around back to start.
Thank you, sir. It is an honor to be with you and to read another one of my little pieces. This is a piece many of you have seen, I'm no doubt, the artist, I'm using the word advisedly, who taped a banana to the wall and sold it for gobs of money. But to me, what is worse is some other jackass bought it and ate it. Okay, so this is my reaction to that little adventure. It's called Eating and Defeating Art. It's not the Mona Lisa, the procedure at least, an indelicate balance, some food at the palace. Who flounced down the stairs to the hum of the hunting of whales, ostensibly non-reverentially, to compete with the value with behavior so shallow. Now, art can be silly, ask Marge, Ben, or Willie, as whimsical or as precious as inedible as breakfast, but to sneer and career through a gallery with no apology to stifle and smash with your great wads of cash is a Philistine grab right out of the lab. Imagine some random bloke who, with his wallet, take note, buys a Gutenberg Bible and with his check flying and denying a rival, declares it's his art, a bonfire to start, with his pages outrageous the staff, the curators laugh, his check isn't tiny by half. In fact, it's o'erfilled and knocked over the carafe, more than enough to choke a giraffe, 'cause art is a joke. Yet some say hope floats in the statue of Lucy, and when a Tyrannosaurus loosely translated to rubles is mismeasured at last by some Philistine's cash, a tin ear for value, his judgment's just fallow, unlimited. Ultimately, is all value just trash, and tossing some Ming vase just goes smash, because some toady floats in with a boatload of cash, with some $10 million hammer wielded by some bloke with a credit card jammer, reduces it all because he's confused, bulbs flashing, the camera recalls his every act. But as a matter of fact, his own worth is sullied, and it's lost, and he tosses it out of the church, and when he eats the banana and pockets the tape, it's just a mistake, because art is a dream. Don't confuse it and use it for some ego-ass dream. Yes, our Mutt's urinal was a seminal move. It was part of the start of the found art remove, but it's still art's groove. Cash may be speech, but if you ask Archie Leach, it may yet be a mistake. Ask after her haircut, the case was shut on old Veronica Lake. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you, Mr. Spizak. And up next, we have Nike Truth one more time.
Sure. This is a rough draft of a poem currently called The Goat God. I saw them today, alabaster fur like fog rolling between the headstones. I assume they're being a good companion and listening to the whispers that keep the dirt loose and the grass moist. And they looked at me. Deep into that rectangle of knowledge I saw, all the secrets that the moths kept and the reflection of faces I only see in dreams. Burnt mustard leaves signal not every soul will make it next year. Not every soul's supposed to. I tried to ignore the chill in my bones when that rectangle of knowledge ensnared me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nike. And up next, for the second round of round robin, looks like Brian Franco unfortunately left us, so we're back. We're up to we move ahead 2 spaces to Jan Rowe.
Okay. This is called Effects of Genocide. Eff- an effective genocide. I can't tolerate gossip. Gossip has bothered me a good bit, a long time. I used to gossip myself, talk negatively about one person to another person, until I realized gossip is a way to avoid confrontation, etc. And there's enough negativity. I have images I want to convey. People here and seeing are getting traumatized. I used to take gossip without responding, so in silence, complicity. So as we see the genocide ignored, I can't take hearing anything about people when people need rest, encouragement, hope. Now, for some reason, I have James Parker of the writers group feeling the dent in my head. Because sometimes I could have rather intense response to people that they might not have been looking for. I think it's kind of related to the dent in my head. I'm usually nice and mild-mannered. However, there is a reason I can deal with the mentally ill. I'm head injured, and it was lucky I was 3.5, so they were able to pop out my skull that was pressing on my brain. So that's one of the effects of the genocide. I just can't take gossip anymore. Thank you.
Side effects include. Thank you, Jan. Up next, let's have Mr. Bill Lewis.
Well, the pleasure to be back with you. Oh, yippee doopy doo. And life, we've got it so good. You know, I just want to show my beautiful, how do you do this stupid Zoom thing? Just a second. Zoom, talk to me, Zoom. There. I want my Christmas tree in there. There it is. A real life Christmas tree with Santa Claus costume. How good is that? Where in the world could we have the opportunity to have such wonderful things? Oh, we are truly blessed. And now I'm going to read a short passage from a book here. This is the Pacific Northwesterner, the biography of William Horatio Lewis I, entitled A Blizzard on Crazy Woman Divide. Frontier life was hard in those days, and it was not long before Lewis encountered another near fatal experience. He had to take the stage on a night run from the old Fort McKinley over Crazy Woman Divide. Lewis's run that night included a stop at the company's supper station atop Crazy Woman Divide. Arriving about 1 o'clock in the morning, he changed horses, ate, and began his trip up north. He had only gone about 5 miles when he encountered a terrible whiteout blizzard. Soon finding himself off the road with the load, he was unable to determine where he was. With the drifting of the snow, the landscape had all changed, and he could not determine in which direction to guide the team. Having no other choice, he let go of the reins and let the team find its own way. About daylight, he found himself headed down a steep incline through heavy snow. He could see treetops below him and realized he was still atop Crazy Woman Divide. Unfortunately, he did not know if he was below or above the crossing road. So he stopped and unhooked the team, securing the horses to the wagon wheel. He thus began to prepare for his forced stay on Crazy Woman Divide. He was carrying an extra load of mail, which was already 15 days late in delivery. That is why he had been sent up on the line. The deep snowdrifts had forced the Union Pacific train to stop. A short distance from his coach, Lewis discovered an old cut-down cottonwood tree that was rotted and dry on the inside. Opening several packages of the overdue newspapers he carried, he watered them up and packed them into the hollow of the tree. Soon he had a roaring fire going. He leveled up the mail sacks and dropped his book. And just as he got to the exciting part, and crawled into his makeshift bed of mail sacks and buffalo robes and went to sleep. Sometime later, he was awoken by a heavy, smothering sensation. Realizing something was wrong, he lifted the canvas curtain and looked out. He discovered that about 15 feet of old cottonwood tree was now ablaze, and the heat from the fire was causing the snow on the top of the wagon to melt down through the canvas. With the fire so hot, the coach had become a regular sauna bath. His warm and dry place of refuge had now become uncomfortably hot and humid. He jumped out, hooked up the horse, and pulled the coach farther away. Then, settling the horses again, he got into the wagon and went back to sleep. He continued this for 3 full days and 2 nights before the storm finally broke. That's my great-grandpa.
Family history runs a bond. It's Stone Soup. Thank you, Bill. And back to Mr. Robert Fleming.
Good evening. I'm going to share some digital graphic work. I am continuing with an art series based on the Chinese zodiac animals. This is a photo, a grouping of tigers that I created with a filter called voxel art, which makes your image look like Lego. Two of the things which are not true about tigers in the natural world is that tigers are very solo animals. So the idea of a number of tigers all being at the same place at the same time is very unrealistic. And then if you see on the left side, you sort of see like a family of 2 adult tigers and an infant. What's typical is after the male inseminates the female, he leaves her immediately. So it's very unlikely to see this pairing where the male tiger is included. This is another image with one of the animals in the Chinese zodiac, which is the dragon, which I also created with voxel art. Here they are at the amusement park, at the roller coaster. And I think I also succumbed to some political satire art with another one of the animals, which is the monkeys. This is called primate voters. So Richard, you need to look at the screen. This is partially for you, this satire. And here is another satire piece called The Primate Party. And this third one is called Primate Voter Suppression. And here are the monkeys in a bumper car. This is called Monkeys Bumping Around. So thank you for letting me share some of my graphic arts for my continuation of my work for the Chinese zodiac.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Up next, let's go back to Mr. Gentleman Galt.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fleming's work reminds me of an old Saturday morning cartoon in which chimps were the primary stars of the show, and the characters and all that, and they were all playing human characters. Really interesting show. How they got the chimps to do all that's amazing. But anyway, I'd like to just continue on reading some of Mike Amato's work here. And I don't know. I want to read three of really kind of short ones. Uh, this one is called Just Waiting. This book, Rebuilding the Pyramids, is about 31 poems, I believe, separate pieces of work, um, going through his experience. This one's called Just Waiting. Waiting for the doctor, waiting for the pills, waiting for the scalpel, waiting to heal, waiting for treatment to begin, waiting for treatment to end, waiting to feel better, waiting to feel worse, waiting for an organ, waiting for the worst, waiting for the ambulance, waiting for the hearse. And this next one is called The Gift. The Gift. Leaves splash the hermetic window, just ancient hands letting go. My room on the sixth floor, high enough to see Boston South End and spy on doctors' private offices. Days after surgery, I'm different. My Johnny with diamond patterns holds me like smoke. I want to take in the warmth from the window. The sun doesn't struggle. An engine backing a continual lightning flash oven that never cooled during the holidays. I could have been transplanted with the star, but I owe it to the spirit of the person who gave this life article to me to write this down. And now the last one I'll read is called Kidney Transplant. This organ called cadavertic, his intention theirs more than mine. Am I ready? Prepped with betadine and warnings, the release, the nase's risk, internal bleeding, complications, and a death. Skin trimmed in the form of archer's bone, body open to let in life, immune system crushed by suppressants. The operation a success. What is 4 hours, 12 days to the rest of my life? Warm silence plungers my living Bible, a stranger's gift that stains me while days grow malnourished in the flesh out autumn. Post-op leaflet discharges euphemisms. Congratulations on your new life. New and improved, you're free to go. Take at least 4 to 6 months to let it heal. The morning of discharge, doctor's slumps to the door of my room. He hammers out, you never caught cytomegalovirus, have you? Well, don't. You would die. Have I fixed my life in hands that shadow rooms over graves? Thank you very much. And that is from Rebuilding the Pyramids by Mike Amato. Still available on Amazon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, and I think it's time to bring us to well, we've had a couple people jump out today, so let's bring in someone who tagged in during the second half or at the end of the first half. His name is first round of round robin, I should say. His name is Timothy Gager, and he actually has a feature that's coming up this weekend. And they asked me to host. The only problem is I don't know if I have the means to get there, so you might have to actually bring your own host. It's BYOH, bring your own host.
I think Lee Eric Friedman's going to step in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jason was going to ask you to come with us.
He did actually, and I'd love to come. It's just I just got to figure out how I'm going to get there on my Steam.
Yeah, Jason's doing well. And Mr. Galt, what do you think about Lance Link's Secret Chimp? Because I just looked up the YouTube of that. It's still funny.
He
Like
knows no justice.
and
He
making them
has no
talk is
shame.
hilarious. It's maybe funnier now than when I was 5.
He's the ape to call whenever danger is
Lance
near.
Link, Secret
Look,
Chimp.
yes,
What a great show. They don't make shows like that anymore. Instead, they
do.
have like Dexter, Secret Chimp, the serial killing chimp.
Okay.
It was one of my favorites at the time.
I mean, if they could remake Breaking Bad with chimps, that would be great.
This guy who was there's a person who was a screenwriter years ago. He was a graphic novelist, and then they had him they opted him. They're like, you're really good at dialogue. Do you want to do a movie? So he takes a huge advance. He's got like 6 months to produce something. And it's like the month, it's like the very day of to go, he has to go fly out to California. He has nothing. He has nothing when he's on the flight. He has nothing when he's on when he's in the limo or the taxi to take him to the studio. He has nothing when he's waiting for them. Calls him in, still has nothing. And he's sitting in front of them. He's sitting in front of the executive. He has nothing. The guy says, "Okay, let's hear what you have to say. What's your idea for a treatment?" And the guy just says three words: Ghost, Chimp, MD. The executive, of course, says, "What?" And he goes, "Ghost, Chimp, MD."
That's brilliant.
He's a monkey. He's a doctor. He's dead. And the executive says, "I love it." Money earned. So chimps are still popular. We just don't know how to present them anymore, I guess. Or there could be problems. So look up Chimp Crazy on HBO Max.
And they also don't do talking horses anymore.
Sure.
All right. I'm gonna read a couple of poems, and I think after a couple of years, I'm finally able to sort of write about the deaths of my parents, and in a way that I can, which is kind of cool because, like, you don't want to have to deal with it. Anyway, I'm gonna do a screen share on it, just so you guys can see the form. This got accepted in Ink in Thirds, which is coming out in the spring. It's a wonderful print magazine with photographs. Losses. I thought we would bond over our losses of fathers. Same cause, died in the same year, but we didn't. I wanted to. We reminded each other of grief instead. It brought back this memory I had forgotten, going to a therapist after my friend hung himself. He left a note, "Come on over," so I could find him there. He trusted me in that role. "You've got a lot of losses," the therapist said, sighing, fucking frowning, showing empathy. I wanted to smack that off his face. I didn't come for that. I came so the pain would go away. And the next one, Mausoleum. Mom buried herself in sunlight, cutting her hair, watching it get snipped away, each time shorter, each time less present, until it was only a shape, an outline of a head, the memory of her. Dad sat in the chair. They locked the wheels, just in case he might try to leave, though he never did. But his hair was long. Fuck if he left us in that way. The stones contained them, holding the symbols, always in sharp depth, the M and the C, first initials, lovely and sharp. You will keep those letters I cannot pull off from the columbarium. You can walk to the end. And I have a flash piece sort of about the end stages of my parents. That's going to be an Oddball coming up. So it's Christmas, sad Christmas themed. I'll have a sad Christmas without parents.
It is called the Christmas War segment for a reason. War as hell. God, I hate it. Okay,
Cool. Thanks for being here, Chad, and doing this. And everybody, glad I caught the second half. I was at a condo meeting, but glad to catch the second half and hear y'all.
Thank you, Sir Timothy. I owe you a phone call. We're going to finish up tonight with the second half of the last person for the second half of this round robin. Let us go now back to James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So this poem is called Have You No Decency, Sir? To Gaza Genocide Joe. The AP, once upon time wire service, has square quotes around the word genocide, as in the Gaza genocide, on the long litany Yahoo scroll I'm looking at as I listen to a doctor who worked in Gaza and kept seeing small children with shots to their little heads and toddler left chests, and said he thought it was one sadistic guy, a sniper, until he started hearing the same reports from other doctors and realized what he was seeing was systematic targeting of small, even infant children whose moms he had seen begging to save their brain-shattered, heart-shot babes. Which leaves me thinking again of Ethel Rosenberg in the electric chair. They had to hit this tiny woman 3 times with massive voltage. I wonder if she was thinking too on Roy Cohn, her federal prosecutor, who conspired with a judge, a Jew as a was, of course, Roy Cohn, and Ethel, and her husband also. And Roy Cohn, New York mob lawyer, would become Trump's lawyer, mentor, and model of how to delay and countersue and never, ever, under any conditions, admit wrongdoing or guilt. There is no repentance anyway. In a perfect world, we just keep on going. Like the effect of mirrors, infinite regression, Drosta effect, the beautiful girl on the can that has one after another girl on the can, holding another girl on the can forever. It just must be this way. And here's a song. I was waltzing with my darling to the Tennessee waltz when an old friend I happened to see. I introduced him to my loved one, and while they were dancing, my friend stole my sweetheart from me. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz, and I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling on the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee waltz, the beautiful Tennessee waltz. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Wonderful end to the evening, to the short evening. There may not be any features for December if because I know it's a tough date to book, and unfortunately Sylvia, aka Beauty, who had to cancel due to health reasons, hasn't gotten back to me as to whether or not she wants to feature. So it might be free. It might be all open mics for the rest of the month, but we do have one feature announced. I will be announcing, I should say, for January. Jennifer Martelli, who has a North Shore poet who has an amazing new book out. I've heard several bits of it from Boston Poetry Marathon, other spots. She'll be fantastic, and hopefully after the end of this dreadful year, people will be hopefully a little more revitalized, even if it's out of fear and anger, to want to get up and read and feature. Thanks to all of you guys who have been doing this pretty consistently throughout the year. Much appreciated. We're going to do the obligatory wave and hopefully have more announcements will be coming of some kind in I have no hands in hell. Oh, here we go. Here we are. So actually this is kind of creepy. I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden. But
Oh, I've got no hands.
look, Ma, no hands. Here we go. Okay. So thank you guys very much for coming tonight, and stay tuned for more poetry news on the Stone Soup Facebook page and elsewhere. Keep a lookout for the Christmas Wars, which will be coming out actually the week of Christmas. More and thanks to Robert Fleming for providing the banner art for this year. This is going to be it's going to be a hot one this year, hot one, and hope you guys, if you haven't contributed yet, you'll think of contributing and so on and so forth. All of you have an excellent evening, and we'll see you soon. Or as they say, the show's over. See you next time.
Got a second chat and you want to stay on. Very convenient.
Let me take a moment to